My name's Eric Welander and welcome to Windy Tech, a channel all about smart home tech in the Apple ecosystem. Today we're going to talk about the LIFX day and dusk bulbs, and is that kind of a tech in a smart light bulb something that would actually help you sleep better? Earlier this year, I read a book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, PhD. Based on the research presented in the book, bright overhead lights, and particularly blue shades of light, have an effect on your body gradually preparing to go to sleep. Your body doesn't just start getting ready for bed when you do. It gradually prepares for sleep over the afternoon and evening. If you live or work under bright blue light at night and don't use night shift on your iOS or Mac devices, this is probably a factor in damaging the quality of your sleep. So after reading this book, when I discovered that LIFX had a series of day and dusk bulbs that automatically changed brightness and temperature over the course of the day, I had to get a couple to try them out. For the channel, of course. The things I do for you guys, seriously. So LIFX is a company that makes smart light bulbs that talk to your home network via Wi-Fi. So there's no hub required. And what I got are two bulbs from their mini series of light bulbs. And there's nothing that much mini or small about them. I guess maybe compared to some of their larger light bulbs they sell, but it's not that much smaller than the standard A19 form factor. So don't expect to be putting this in too small of a light fixture or lamp. But what mini does seem to mean in their product line is both cheaper cost and maybe not quite as many lumens. So the starting basic white light mini LIFX bulb costs $20 US, and the LIFX day and dusk bulbs that I got cost $30 US. And the other thing is these lights, the day and dusk bulbs I got, only output 800 lumens, where many of LIFX's larger light bulbs output well above 1,000 lumens. Now, it's important to note that this day and dusk feature is not just specific to the day and dusk light bulbs. It also works on any of LIFX's color light bulbs. So you might already have some LIFX color bulbs in your place that you want to try this out with. So I have tons of smart switches and Philips Hue lights all around my home, but this is my first time getting LIFX smart bulbs. Now, they're a little bit more expensive, say, than the absolute cheapest Philips Hue bulbs, but I have to give LIFX an A+ for design. And also, you don't need a hub like you do with some of Philips Hue's bulbs. But LIFX's packaging, just the bulbs themselves, whoever thought a light bulb could look good, and also the app experience, all of that is just really well thought out, and I just gotta hand it to LIFX for just creating a great product experience. Setting up these lights in HomeKit was very easy. You just, of course, scan the code and add the accessory. From there, you can download the LIFX app and set up an account there, and then add your lights to your LIFX account. And I recommend doing that if you want to integrate these light bulbs with anything more than just Apple HomeKit. It's also essential for taking advantage of this day and dusk feature. So to make use of these lights, I actually work from home for my main occupation as a software developer, and I wanted some lights to help me through the day as I worked, and particularly I often go back to the office after dinner in the evening just to take care of, random either work or personal things. So I had these two lamps from the master bedroom that had previously been in other videos that had some Philips Hue bulbs in them, and I didn't need those anymore because I moved those Philips Hue bulbs to the fan after I installed the fan control from probably another video. So those lamps came down to the office, and I actually put them behind my desk to form, I guess, what you might call a bias lighting setup, which sort of makes it easier on your eyes to look at a screen because there's also light behind the screen. And the combination of that light location being in my office and behind my screen, and then these gradually shifting colors over the course of the day where I could just focus on my work. I didn't have to think about, anything with the lights, or it didn't even really notice anything with the lights because it was so gradual. But you look at the difference over the day and I could really see a difference. And I don't have any scientific results on did this actually help me sleep better. But when I leave my office, especially later in the evening, and go to bed, I don't feel as wired up as I would have before. All right, so we're here in my office and you can see the two lamps that I put behind my monitors. And then if I want to control those and edit the day and dusk settings in the app, I simply launch the LIFX app and then go in here under all lights. Now you can modify day and dusk settings for any individual or group of LIFX bulbs depending on what you want for your setup. Now, then if I go to the day and dusk tab at the bottom, you'll see that I already have it on, and you can see a graph of where the lights are in their daily schedule, and I can just drag along this slider here, and you'll notice that the lights change to the respective settings of whatever that is scheduled for at a certain time. And then if I let go, it snaps back to the current location in the day. And then by default, when you set this up initially, these settings will probably be off. So then when you turn it on, if you notice, it by default also adds a wake up trigger and a night light trigger. And what this does is puts it into a night light mode overnight. So if we drag it over, you can see it's a very dim brightness. And if we had all the other lights off, you could just see a little bit of light. It does serve as a night light. Maybe that's something you want, maybe it's not. In my case, I don't want that in the office. So then I can go in here to any of these individual phases and turn them on or off. Obviously, you have to have at least one of the phases on to get it to work. And then you can also change in here the temperature that you want it to achieve at that point during the day. And I'm going to go in here and also turn off the night light portion as well. And then, for example, in the evening time right now, I have my temperature set to get very warm around 5 o'clock. But if you look at the graph, if you drag over the dot over here on the main screen, you can see that it really becomes very orange. When you get there, I got it to go. It's really, really orange. So maybe I don't want that as much. So I can tap in here to evening again and then tap on the white temperature and then change how much, what Kelvin gets to at that particular time of day. And then you can also go in here and modify brightness. So maybe you want your lights to get more dim during that period of the day. So you can do that, and you can notice that it's showing you what your graph will look like and how it will gradually shift not only the Kelvin level, but also the brightness between those periods of time during the day. And the other thing, of course, I've already modified from the default schedule. You can change here the time in which this occurs. A small detail, of course, I think this LIFX is based in Australia, so you have to enter this in military time. So if you're in the US, just do a little bit of math and it's not a big deal. But so I can change it to maybe be at 8 p.m. And of course you see the update right there, so it's not that hard to figure out. And then from there I can just tap on that again and it'll save that setting, and then I can go back into the main app, and you can see that our graph has changed based on our settings, and we can see that now as we go through the day, the lights are getting not only a different color, maybe not as much of a drastic color change, but now they're also getting a little bit dimmer. The other thing that you can do in the settings is go in here and change what day of the week that this activates on. Now, of course, if I go back over to the Home app, you can see that the brightness level as well as the colors are visible in HomeKit, and I can modify them here. But just keep in mind that if you do that, it's going to get it off of its track for its scheduled automations throughout the day. When you think about it, day and dusk is really just a fancy automation schedule. And I tried different ways to take advantage of that schedule via HomeKit and other things, but I often found that whenever I tried to control these lights that were on a day and dusk schedule, it would often offset or mess with the day and dusk adjustment. And then I launched the LIFX app later in the day and realized that these lights hadn't been adjusting to their colors on their schedule. So with a lot of smart home automation, and this included, I really recommend keeping, not trying to mix too many different automation systems together. So trying to get something that day and dusk does in the LIFX app to then trigger things in HomeKit just seems like you're setting yourself up to have lots of glitches here and there along the way. That said, when you just leave these lights alone with day and dusk, it seems to work really reliably. I mean, LIFX has clearly done their homework to make it a good experience. At the end of the day, I think personally I'm not going to use the day and dusk feature. I'll probably shift to other HomeKit automations and other HomeKit controls for both these lights and the other lights that I have in my office, and we'll see how that works out. But I have enjoyed trying day and dusk, and I really would like to see these features come to HomeKit someday in the future, where you can schedule a light Kelvin change and brightness change over a period of time. Right now, if you were to set up those same kind of automation schedules in HomeKit, it would abruptly transition to different stages at particular times of day. One other thing that I would love to see day and dusk provide is some kind of relationship to sunset or sunrise, where you could have those as events just like you can in HomeKit, as opposed to just with specific times of day. So if you're able to just leave lights alone, and it's the kind of situation where you're looking for something that's on for extended periods of time on a very set schedule, I think day and dusk is really cool. And it can be also a great way to get into automation with a very easy to understand interface without having to go out and get extra motion sensors or other kinds of sensors or other kinds of things that might trigger automations. And it's, I would say, definitely a step above just setting lights to come on at sunset in the Home app. I mean, you get all of this cool color temperature stuff right along with it. And regardless of whether or not you want to take advantage of the day and dusk features, I do highly recommend these LIFX bulbs. They seem to work really reliably. Mine are not that far from a Wi-Fi access point, but they seem to pick up Wi-Fi signal without any issue, and I've not seen them, drop a lot in HomeKit or anything. So very reliable lights that just emit really great colors, and they're just really beautiful, well-designed light bulbs. So this was my first time using LIFX, and I think with how well designed of a company they are, I almost wonder if Apple someday, if they're getting into smart home tech, should acquire LIFX. Who knows? But if you have any thoughts on that, or if you've used LIFX before, I'd love to hear that in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Thanks again so much for watching. And oh yeah, and by the way, I've done a new logo, a new banner. You probably might have noticed the new intro. I'm kind of rebranding a little bit, but it's all, who really cares? It's just marketing. See you guys in the next one.